This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are talking about the Major League Baseball season. We're covering what the Guardians have done, what the Reds have done. What do we think about each team? What's the good? What's the bad? And then we were talking about the NBA playoffs. We're talking about how the Cavs are up 2-0 at this current moment. We're talking about what can they be doing to finish off this series. And then also we're talking about what are the Lakers doing? Are they truly going to choke once again? Is this kind of the end of LeBron's tenure as the king? And then we're also talking about the NFL draft. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben. That's Josh. And we are back in town. Not really in town. We're not in the same place. But we are here talking about sports, specifically not just football, which I know last week we had a great show. I think, Josh, I think you would agree. It was a great show last week going over the NFL draft with Joe, and that was a phenomenal time. We thought, since we're recording this on draft night, we thought, one, it'd be kind of awkward to talk about the draft when we don't really know what's going to happen. Be kind of awkward. But also, we figured you would want to hear other sports than just back-to-back weeks of us talking about draft prospects and talking about how J.J. McCarthy shouldn't be drafted in the first round, and he'll probably be drafted number 3. Who knows? But that being said, Josh, how was your weekend? How did you enjoy this week so far leading up to the show?
Dude, I've worked 5 days in a row, so this is my first day off in a little while, so I'm excited to just relax and talk about some of the things that have been happening out in the sports world. I haven't been able to watch a lot of these things, but I've been keeping track. And like you said, baseball. So I think both of our teams in the state of Ohio, we got a lot to be excited about, a lot of superstar talent that we can discuss today, as well as the general landscape of baseball. We're about 25 games in the regular season now, so pretty good sample size, I think, of some things that are going to be pretty solid. Yeah. Maybe he is the best player in all of baseball, even just as a hitter. We can get into that too a little bit. Incredible. But yeah, how was your week, Ben?
It was good. Like I've had a busy week of school, but speaking of football, or we mentioned football, my team, the Cowbells, we didn't talk about this last week, but we beat the team that we lost to in the semifinals last year in the playoffs for our first game. So we won 34-31. We had one player. He took a kickoff return, first play of the game, back for a touchdown, and scored 4 receiving touchdowns. So basically it was a one-man show. But hey, that was great. And then now we've added another American, we call them imports here, another American that's going to come join us today. He actually was at practice. So yeah, Josh, it's feeling good for football wise. We have a game coming up. It's getting warmer, which is weird to say for football, but makes it nice. And I'm looking forward to. Been watching the Reds. They lost today 5-0, which is not normal. I mean, I guess it is normal in a sense, but it's been good.
Sweet. Yeah. Why don't we you mentioned the Reds. Yeah. Not normal in the sense of this season, normal in the sense of the last 5 years, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, right now as it stands, Ben, the Reds are 14-11, third place in the NL Central, 2.5 games out of first place. Ellie De La Cruz, I think,
freak, dude.
Just absolute freak. Yeah, making all the big plays, all the stolen bases, all the home runs. I'm sure we'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent at the plate, but still average over 300. But yeah, what have you been seeing from the Reds that you've liked so far? What have been some of the keys to, I guess, a record over 500 so far?
It's interesting because if you actually look at the Reds stats, their offense is pathetic. Like if you just not RBI wise, but if you just look at average, like if you're just looking at average and like on base percentage, they're like not great. They're like middle of the pack, even low middle of the pack. I think they're hitting like 230 or 220, something like that. Huh. But what's crazy to me is that, Spencer Steer started off on a tear, right? He had 18 RBIs in his first, I don't know, 3 weeks of the year or 2 weeks of the year. And he's had 1 RBI since. And he's like, I think he's on like a 2 for 25 slump. Like he's dropped way below 260 now. But speaking of Ellie De La Cruz, the reason why I know people are like, oh, you're going to talk about Ellie De La Cruz. Listen, Josh can attest. We talked about this when we were in Ohio together. I had brought up this about Ellie De La Cruz. People started figuring out, right? You throw him slow pitches, like off-speed pitches. You throw him curveballs, like he's just going to swing through it. He's going to strike out a lot. Now, his strikeouts are still up, but what's different is like he can hit a curveball now. he's hit home runs off curveballs, off sliders, off changeups, and he's hitting from the right side. Right, there was rumors that they were trying to make him just go left-handed because he was struggling with right hand. We see that a lot in switch hitters in the MLB. They can't hit one side; they kind of switch to the other. But what he's done is his approach is so different. Like, I don't know if you've watched any of the games though, Josh, but it's the way he just sits back on a ball and he drives it. It reminds me, I hate to say Jose Ramirez, but it reminds me a little bit of that. Like, he's able to just push the ball the other way, which is something that he did not do last year that much. Like, he's hitting the ball like right-handed to right field. Like, we didn't really see that much last year. And then when he gets on the base path, man, like, you've seen it. Like, it's just like, he's 6'6". He runs probably, I mean, that dude, he probably runs, if he had a 40-yard out, he probably runs in 4.3s, right? Like, I love when pitchers, like, they don't throw over and he just scoots his lead. I'm like, hello, excuse me. There was a play, I think it was like, he had like I don't know, it was like 4-step lead, and like the catcher just caught it, and was just like, yeah, you know what, not even gonna throw it, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I think what the key for the Reds, and honestly, the pitching has been up and down, right? Lodolo's looked really good since coming back from the DL or the IL. Like today, Nick Martinez struggled, which he's been struggling. So like they've been kind of inconsistent. Hunter Green's been inconsistent. The bullpen's been okay, like not tremendous, but okay. Like I said, other hitters have been okay. Like Encarnacion Strand, yeah, he might have 17 RBIs, but he's hitting like 200. Calidario, who we brought in, is hitting under 200. Benson's hitting under 200, right? Like you see a pattern here if you get
Yeah.
my gist.
Jonathan
So
India
for
as well, another guy that's been
yeah,
pretty solid for you
like the
guys.
thing is he leads us in walks, but yet he's hitting 220, right? So like for me, it's like I struggle with the fact that yes, I want to be positive about the Reds, and I am positive. Like I think the Reds, like being 2.5 games out this late into April and about to May, like it's good, like because we always struggle in April usually. But like today, like you get shut out 5-0. You had 3 hits. Like it just to me, it just feels like they go on these streaks, and it feels like last year's team when they went on streaks. Now again, I have to remind myself, McLean's not in the lineup. They don't have Marte, right? Marte's out until like July. McLean's out probably who knows how long, maybe most of the year, right? So yeah, they're not as where they need to be. Jake Fraley's been injured. Um, but I do believe that this team is capable of at least going for the wild card this year and maybe making the playoffs. But yeah, I think overall I'm happy to see the improvements of Elly De La Cruz. Fairchild has actually been a really shock. Like I thought he was going to be a cut, but he's turned out to be a really good utility guy. So yeah, I'm real happy they lead the majors in stolen bases. So at least they're doing one thing right.
Yeah, lead the MLB in stolen bases, and it does help when you got Elly De La Cruz, who has 15 steals, which
Yeah.
leads the league. Yeah, let me give you a little rundown here of Ellie's season so far. He is hitting 306, which is solid. 7 home runs, which is tied for fourth in the league. 1.051 OPS, which is fourth in the league. And then, yeah, the stolen bases is first, 3 ahead of the next guy. So super solid season there.
Yeah.
Definitely got to be excited about what you were saying with the Reds. 24th in batting average. So that's about what you were saying there as a team. But if you can get the big plays, I mean we've seen it work in some cases for
Well,
some teams.
you've even seen it like even with the Indians or the Guardians and the Reds, right? Both last year, I think we saw that. Like it wasn't like the Reds were hitting the cover off the ball. They just picked their spots, right? And I think I've learned in baseball, and I don't know, maybe Josh, you've noticed it too. I feel like in baseball now, it's like you don't have to go out and hit 300, as a team, or even 260 as a team. Like if you just pick your spots, you're good, right? You could have 7 guys in your lineup go 1 for 5 or 0 for 4, but as long as you have those 3 dudes that are hitting 2 for 3 or whatever, for some reason, and nowadays it seems like it works, but I don't get it.
I
I still
think,
wish every guy would be hitting over
yeah,
that.
I think the biggest example of that is Kyle Schwarber hitting under 200. I think it was
He
last
has
year,
an
but
on
having
base
over 100
percentage. He
RBIs.
has an on base percentage of like 400, which I don't understand. Like the
Yeah,
dude hits under
somehow pulled
200
that
and he has
off.
like a 400 on base percentage. I'm like, how's it even possible?
Yeah, got me, man. It's the league that we're in today, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to touch on with the Reds?
No, I think my only thing is that they have to figure out, like I'm getting tired of Bell's the manager, like his weird like lineup like he doesn't really change the lineup when guys are struggling, and then like his pitching choices sometimes confuse me, and Yeah, I don't know. I just want this team to get over that hump, and I think they have to just be consistent for a month. And I'm hoping for May here that they finish, maybe at the 550, 600 level for record wise.
Mm. All right.
What about the Guardians? I should say because they've been
Yeah.
good. They've been doing great. I mean, they've been phenomenal.
As it stands right now, they are first in the American League, I believe. Let me go ahead and
Stephen
double check
Kwan,
to
my
make sure
guy,
that's still the
man.
case.
Stephen Kwan, man. It's my dude.
Yes, best record in the American League right now at 18-7. And yeah, we can kick it right off with Stephen Kwan. I think that's appropriate, just with
He's been awesome,
how
man.
much of a hit machine he's been in a run
He's streaky though, isn't he? Like,
scoring
don't you feel
machine.
like he's streaky, like just in his career so far?
Well, he had the really solid rookie season where it like took forever for him to even have a swing and a miss, and then
Yeah,
I think he took a dip last year in production. That might have just been because of teams adjusting and getting a scouting report on him, like what you were mentioning with Ellie De La
yeah.
Cruz. But yeah, Kwan is seventh in batting average for the league at 346. He's let me check runs scored right now because that's another area that everybody's always mentioning here. Who leads the league in runs scored right now?
I know Ellie's close, but I don't think he is. I think he's second in the league.
Okay, Kwan is sixth in all of baseball with 22 runs, but that's first in the American League.
Yeah.
Got a lot of big National League bats ahead of him, but still, uh, yeah, Kwan is definitely one of the catalysts, our leadoff hitter, uh, getting most of these innings started off on a high note, and then the middle of our order is actually bringing him home. Believe it or not, Ben, we are seventh in runs scored and eighth in runs driven
Really?
in, which is very
Wow.
uncharacteristic of a Cleveland team. Yeah. Pitching wise, we'll get to that. We're fourth in ERA, which we've become accustomed to in Cleveland. But the reason they don't usually win the big games is because they can't score runs, and at least so far they have
What about the
been
home runs? That's
doing
always
just
been the
that.
problem.
The home runs, yeah, 18th in home runs, so still low, but a little slightly higher than usual. I can tell you one reason for that is because Josh Naylor's got 6 of them already, and Jose's got 5.
Don't they have?
So
Did I hear there's a third Naylor brother I didn't even know about?
there's Josh and
Miles? Is it
Bo
Miles?
on the Cleveland roster, and then Miles, I believe, is the third one. He was just drafted last year by the A's, and I was really
What a
hoping we can get
place.
all
What
three
a place
in the
to go play.
organization.
The
I
Las
was really hoping
Vegas
we could get all
A's.
3, yeah.
Las Vegas A's.
Let me tell you about some other guys though that have been streaking lately. It's very fun to watch. The total stats might not jump out to you yet, but Tyler Freeman, I think he came
Who?
into
Who?
yeah. Yeah, remember the name though, just in case. Tyler Freeman's been one of Cleveland's prospects for a while, but he's a middle infielder, and there's not really a place to put him, considering that we got Jose at third,
Jimenez.
Jimenez at second, and then shortstop. It's like, are you going to play Arias? Are you going to play Rocchio? Are you going to play Freeman? Where are you going to throw him? And they've got him in center field right now, which it seems like he's adjusting pretty well. He's settling in as an outfielder.
Kind of like
During the new
Tatis. Like, where are you going to put him? You had to find a spot. Makes
Yeah, but
sense.
he's athletic enough that you can try him
Yeah.
somewhere and it might work. But the New York series last weekend, he came into that hitting below 200. Right now he's hitting 221. He's had a lot of multi-hit games lately, so it's bumped his average up to 221 as our everyday center fielder. So he's looking like he's settling in, figuring things out. Then I mentioned Gabe Arias, who can play first, he can play third, he can play short. I think they even throw him in right field sometimes. A little bit of a utility element to him. He's hitting 280 right now. Another guy in that New York series that came in hitting under 200, but he's been getting a lot more at bats lately and heating up. And then another guy that you might not know, Estevan Florial,
I do
came
know
into
that
that
guy. Yeah.
series also hitting under 200, currently hitting 250. It seems like if nobody's on base, he's not going to get a hit. But if you got a man on base, or if you're in a clutch situation where an extra insurance run would be nice, or you need a go ahead hit, he's going to deliver. I don't know what his clutch stats are, or how to find those, but the guy just seems to be at his best in the clutch, or when we actually need a run, he'll deliver. And then David Fry, another one that I've loved for a while that I wish could get more of an everyday role because he can play all over the place. He can catch. He could be our catcher that could hit over 200,
Wait, what? A
honestly.
catcher that hits over 200 for
Yeah, but you can't have a
Indy?
catcher hit over 200. So he plays first base and he plays right field. But
I feel like it's somewhere in the hidden rule book of the Guardians that like
it
it's
is.
required that like they
It's
have
required
to
if
hit
you're a
over
catcher, you
200
better not hit over 200.
or else you're
And
gonna
I'll
get
tell you right
traded.
now, Bo Naylor's hitting 186
Oh my God.
and Austin Hedges is hitting 120.
Dude, it's so weird. It's like the only place in Major League Baseball that catchers just suck at hitting.
Yeah, and Cleveland is very, very tolerant of even the worst. Like most catchers will hit 220, 230, and then you got Cleveland that's like 180. There you go.
There you go. We'll pay you. We'll pay you money.
Yeah, so the bats are starting to come around. One a couple things that I will point out pitching now that are really solid.
Lost Bieber. That's a tough one.
Yeah, so we lost Bieber. We weren't really sure about that. And McKenzie, I think, is dealing with some injuries as well. Carrasco is also looking like he's coming down to earth a little bit. His ERA is over 4.63. He got shelled the other day. But highlights so far, Ben Lively's had a not so great start and a good start. Xavier Curry's looked pretty solid as another guy that we've brought up to get a couple starts. I still don't even think he's allowed a earned run yet this season. And then Hunter Gaddis started as a starter last year, transitioned over to the bullpen, and he's got 16 Ks so far in relief. Hasn't allowed an earned run in 12 innings of work. So I'm really thinking that this guy could maybe be like our Andrew Miller down the line,
Yeah.
where if you need to come in, get a guy to come in and shut the door in the 7th and the 8th before Emmanuel Clase comes in, he could be that guy. And speaking of Clase, I think we're pitching him too much again, just like we did last year. Whereas
It
like
just seems like they pitch him. They pitch him in even spots where it's like you don't need him if it's not like a save situation. I felt.
yeah,
Is
like
that true?
the other
Like
day
I feel like it's that way.
the other day against Boston, he had a 3-run lead, which is still technically a save situation. They brought him in, which I don't think we need to do that in those cases. But when you look at the save stats last year, I think he led baseball in all saves or was second. But you look at all the other guys around him, and he had way more innings pitched than all of the other
Yeah.
guys, which would
I
indicate
never
that we're
like.
bringing him in for
Yeah.
reasons that he or in situations he doesn't need to be there.
I never like when teams bring closer in when they bring their closer in when a non-save situation. Like I get it, you want to keep your like if you were winning. I understand if you won like a bunch of games in a row or if you lost a bunch of games like by big margins and he hasn't pitched in a while. I understand that, but I see teams like they'll be a save situation and then 2 days later it's non-save. They'll bring him in. The next day it'll be non-save. They'll bring him in. It's like, look, if he's your closer, you have specialists for a reason. You have mid relievers for a reason. Dude, I don't get it because by the end of the year, most of these dudes that have like 30 saves by the All Star break, by the end of the year, they're just like their arm is just like off their shoulder, like I've noticed, and that's I guess the frustrating part, I guess, because like the Reds do that with Diaz, like they'll bring him in for like a 6-out save, and I'm like, guys, you have setup guys for a reason. I let's not wear him out for a 6-out save. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, he's made 11 appearances so far and's got 8 saves. I know for sure there was one blown save situation in there. So at least so far it's been mostly save situations, but still, even like when you got a 3-run lead, I don't feel like you got to bring your closer in necessarily in those times. But we'll see what happens. It's just something that I'm monitoring a little bit more closely than what most people probably are, just because it's been a habit of Cleveland in the past, and I think also was the case last year. But outside of that, yeah, really loving what we're seeing from the Cleveland roster so far. We got 3-game lead over the Kansas City Royals in the division right now. Detroit also is above 500, and then Minnesota and Chicago. Well, yeah, let's talk about the White Sox. How they're 3-22.
It's like the Reds from about 5 years ago. The Reds were like when they had Price and they fired him when they started 3-20. Pretty much
And
what
they
they're
are
like.
bad, bad.
They're
Shut
bad,
out, I
dude.
think, in 8 of their first 22, which is a record. Negative 85 run differential, which you want to know what the second lowest is, how
I'm
much
gonna guess
farther ahead
like
they are from everybody.
I'm guessing like negative 24.
Not quite. The Rockies have a run differential of negative 57, but that's still almost 30 run difference.
So you're saying that you're happy that the Guardians hired Stephen Vogt as your manager.
It's working out so far.
We'll see, as I always
The
say.
Yeah, I think eventually we'll have a consistent starting lineup. Some of the guys are like settling in as they're in their spots in the batting order. Pretty we're starting to see a little bit more consistency in our batting order, I guess. I think we're getting an idea of who our main nine are going to be, and I guess we'll have to wait to see who's going to be at short, whether they're going to make Arias an everyday short, or if they're just going to bring him in for like platoon situations or for pinch hit roles. If they're going to leave Rocchio there, if they're going to leave Ramon Laureano out in right field, I don't really like that. We got some guys in the minors that could probably come up and do way better, but yeah, overall, Cleveland really good. I've had some friends complain about them being fourth in the MLB power rankings, even though we got the best record in baseball. And the way I look at it is I think 6 of our wins are against the A's, which say what you want about the A's. They're 9-16, so they're not the Chicago White Sox
They're
by any
better than
means,
the
but
Astros right now,
right.
which is
Better than the
shocking.
Astros right now. Still not one of the best teams, but 6 of our wins are against them, and the A's do got the reputation. So take that with a grain of salt. We lost our Cy Young, our ace Shane Bieber for the whole season now. So it's like, how strong is our starting lineup? And we still don't have Gavin Williams in there. And then how long can we sustain the run scored? Like we got Quan and Josh Naylor, superstar talent. Jose is eventually gonna hit his stride. He's been good, not great so far. Are these younger guys that I just mentioned, the newer guys, gonna stay consistent, or are they gonna flame out once they get more of a report on them? We'll have to find out. But I think when we played New York, we lost that series 2-1, and we only won the third one because of extra innings. We had a situation where we could have won it in 9, blew the save, and then came back and were able to get there. But New York just looked far and away the better team there. So I'm just like, you got the big names over in New York. The other day, Rizzo, Soto, and Judge all homered in the game. They got the big play effect over there. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I think that teams like New York are still a little more of a sexy pick in the American League, honestly.
True. But
What
also,
else is going on over here? I know everybody's been talking about the
Ohtani.
Dodgers underachieving so far too.
But also Ohtani by the way, if you notice like the top 5 averages, 3 of the top 5 are from the Dodgers, and yet they're not just dominating everyone.
Yeah.
Which shows that they're pitching struggling.
Yeah, I've been looking into that a little bit. I think their team ERA is 3.92, which is 15th in the league. It's definitely not the bats, though. You can, like you said, look through the bats. Shohei Ohtani and Mookie lead the league. Will Smith, 4th in the league as a catcher. And then you still got guys out there like Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy and whatnot that are big bats in the lineup as well. But yeah, it's been the pitching. And I mentioned that, I think, at the beginning of the year, the pitching depth. What's that going to look like with Walker Buehler not being able to start the season with them? Dustin May's had his health concerns. Julio Urias has been out of the roster for a while, just dealing with the legal stuff. And Glass now, I know they got him over, but I don't think he's been healthy enough to pitch yet, if I recall correctly. So there's a lot of guys. Okay, Glass now has pitched. That's my fault. Actually 4-1, tied for first in the league. So that's my fault. But still, all those other guys that they're missing that aren't there yet. And even like Glasnow's pitching good now. Hopefully that stays that way. He's another guy that's had his own issues with health and the arm. So is it going to be consistent? And I don't think Yamamoto's been the dominant.
It's been the other Japanese pitcher that played for the Cubs. He's been the dominant one from Japan.
Yeah, I think he had 18 straight scoreless runs to start the year off, or scoreless innings.
But this is the thing about but also congrats to Ohtani for becoming the home run king for Japanese players in Major League Baseball history. When he hits home runs, Josh, it hurts. Like I feel the baseball hurting. He hits it and he looks so effortless when he's swinging. But I also do need to point out that if we're going to hide the fact that probably Ohtani was a part of a gambling situation, can we please put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame? Like if we're going to just let it slide that Ohtani knew nothing, which again, I'm not saying I'm the law. I'm not saying that I know the facts. I'm just saying if that does become the case, then I believe Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying. I wanted to mention that now. Just saying.
Yeah, they concluded it. Federal investigation, figured everything out. I guess you can take that for what it's worth. We I don't know if the federal government has the MLB's back that much, or if Otani can be that naive, I guess, or if he just thought, him and Ipe were tight. I mean, putting myself in his shoes, I don't know if I'd ever expect my best friend to do that to me.
Yeah.
It'd never even be anything that I'd like look into or be suspicious of. It's just a if it did happen exactly that, it's a terrible betrayal. But props to Shohei for dealing with like coming back from Tommy John or whatever the elbow injury surgery was that
Yeah.
he had, dealing with all that drama, getting married this offseason. He comes back and all he's doing is leading the league in batting average right now and doing what we expect Shohei Ohtani to do, which is pretty impressive, I think, all things considered.
Part of me thinks that he wants to prove that he can literally win an MVP without having to pitch.
Which would
Like I
be
feel
incredible.
I feel like that's what he's trying to do. He's like, listen. I mean, speaking of another guy, a former MVP guy, I mean, Mike Trout has led the league in home runs. He only has like 17 RBIs, but he has 10 bombs, and yet he's on one of the worst teams in baseball. And what can we
10
I
home
posted
runs, 13
listen,
RBIs.
that is just sad. And first off,
So sad, dude.
I have said this for years. Like, just trade Mike Trout. Like, can we get him to a place where he can actually feel competitive and like be a part of something? Like, man, send him to the Reds. Like, I'll take him. Like, I'll take him. Let's do it.
Yeah. Do something, man, if you're the Angels, which that division is still up for grabs.
The
Seattle leads it right
Astros,
now at
man.
13 and 12. The Astros,
Astros
yeah,
are
I don't know
so
what's going
bad,
on
dude.
over
I don't know
there.
what's happening, man. But and even the Texas Rangers are not great. Like they're
Not
also
great yet,
struggling.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think gosh, I mean, I'm looking through the Astros right now. Jose Altuve
he's
is
hitting good. He's hitting
he's
really good.
hitting good. Jeremy Pena is having a breakout season.
Their
Kyle
pitching's
Tucker is
bad. Their
doing what you'd
pitching's
normally
really
expect.
bad.
The pitching, yeah.
The pitching's rough.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these guys that normally would be really solid pitchers, what they're doing right now. Um, I mean, Christian Javier, ERA under 2, Framber Valdez, ERA at
I
2.19.
feel like their bullpen must be rough.
Blanco's at 1.33. I'm checking to see what their other starters look like. Verlander ERA under 2. So yeah, I would think that. Let me see if I can find some bullpen stats here, like where exactly they're screwing up. Their run differential is negative, so something's going on there. Let's see here. If I can find some bullpen stats. Maybe Fangraphs or something like that has it.
Yeah.
Let's see. MLB bullpen ERA. Let's see. Okay, pitching. I can tell you right now that the worst. Okay, so this makes sense. The Astros have the 4th highest bullpen ERA at 5.04.
That would make a lot of sense.
If you'd like to know who is at the top, it's basically all the AL Central. You got the Tigers at first at 206, Cleveland at 231. Then you got Seattle at 249 and Minnesota at 2.6.
I will say that I feel like if we see the Astros in a sell mode at trade deadline, then we're truly back to the true Astros again.
Yeah, that's wild to me because bullpen's never really been a concern for them. And they
No.
still got all the superstar power, like we said, and the starters basically all got ERAs at like in the twos
I
or
believe
even the ones.
Altuve signed a new deal, I believe, too, like an extension. So like, yeah, I don't know what you got to do, but
Yeah. I
you
will
know,
say the bats wise, Bregman's hitting 216. He's looking a little sluggish. Still doesn't have a home run yet.
well,
Um,
another guy that's struggling too. I know he's not on the Astros, but Acuna Jr. has like not been existing at all this season. He's hitting like 200. He's got like one home run. He's got 12 stolen bases, but like he's just not the same Acuna at least.
uh, well, he's got 1 home run and 6 RBIs, but his average is up to 281 now. So
Oh,
maybe it was
so
just
his
a really
average,
slow
yeah.
start. But yeah, still not the best player in baseball, the MVP caliber start that we'd expect. The Braves though are killing it. They got
They are,
like
dude.
the best record in the National League right now, and
They don't even have
there's a lot
Spencer
of reasons
Strider.
for
I
that.
mean, he's done for the year, and
No Spencer Strider, yes, that's going to be something to monitor. But Marcelo Zuna is hitting over 300 and second
Leads
in the
the
league in
leads
home
like
runs.
leads in RBIs, I believe.
Yeah. Michael Harris, the second, is hitting over 300 after a solid rookie campaign. Matt Olson, not so much in the average. Still waiting for him to come around there. Albies is hitting over 300. Travis Darno catching,
They
hitting
got
almost
Riley.
300. Yeah, Austin Riley, not so much in the average, but I believe he's delivering around in some of the other areas that you'd expect him to. So there's just a lot of guys on that Braves roster where it's like if one guy's like struggling at one point, someone else is definitely going to step up and pick up the slack.
I mean, yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy to me. And
Yeah, one other team. Who
do we
was it?
want to talk about the Aaron Boone ejection in the Yankees game where he didn't say a word?
Yeah, that was I
Did
only
you see did
heard
you see what
about that.
happened?
I didn't see the
So
video. I don't know any of what he said
so
after the game
context.
about it, but
So
yeah, fill
context.
us in.
So basically, Aaron Boone, he doesn't really stay quiet. He's very chirpy, right? Like he's always saying something. So he said something to the ump, and the ump was like, "All right, next time you say something, you're done. You got it, you're done." That's basically what he said. And Aaron just kind of looked at him and was like, "Okay, yeah, I got it. I got it." And just nodded his head, whatever, wearing aviators. And then in this situation, there's a guy, if you watch the video, so guys, go look it up on the video. There's a guy right behind the dugout, like right above Aaron Boone, that is like wearing a blue shirt. And they're zoomed in, by the way, the TV broadcast is zoomed in on Aaron this whole time. And you don't see him move. He's just kind of chewing gum, just sitting there, right? And then you see the guy above him or like off to the side yelling, like, focus on the plate, ump, and just saying some things or whatever he said. And the ump just turned around and then said, "All right, Aaron, you're gone." And then if you watch the video, Aaron Boone just like loses it. He's like, "I didn't say anything. It was a fan." And then the ump afterwards said, "It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get rid of a player. I don't know who said it. I'm not going to rid of a player. The people are here to watch the players." So Aaron had to go. And I'm like, that's not even a valid response. And also, so like I don't know if the umpire committee or whatever has viewed this, but dude, it's very obvious. Like, and it's really wrong. Like, if that stands, like that's just ridiculous to me. Like, there should be
Yeah.
some sort of apology for that.
Yeah, that's a tough situation where you can't actually look and see it was a fan, but
No, you can't. And it's like, okay, whatever. Also like Angel Hernandez needs just to leave baseball, never ump another game
yeah.
again. Jeez. There's just some of these umps
Still
I
doing
just drive me
angel
nuts.
things.
It's true. But that's a lot of baseball. We've talked a lot of
There's a
baseball.
lot of baseball. We've talked a lot about baseball, and we might even bring up one baseball nugget later after we talk about this story.
Yeah.
Um, Thinking about things that could maybe be reversed or corrected now that Reggie
Yes.
Bush has gotten his
Oh yeah,
Heisman Trophy
breaking
back.
news. Not really breaking news, but sort of breaking news. Reggie Bush. He's got it back. Too
Yeah.
long. Too
To me,
long.
he never
Way too
lost
long.
it.
Yeah,
That's
same.
something that he
Yeah.
was undisputedly the best player in college football that season. It was not performance enhanced in any way by any drugs. He was not here in the country illegally or with a fake birth certificate, like a man playing against boys
Nowadays
or
you can't do
anything
that.
like that. But you can. But there's nothing about him in the
Yeah.
NCAA being illegal other than USC did some things to get him on their team specifically. Like he still went out and earned that award. I don't think that should have ever been able to be taken away. And at least on the books, on the records, the Heisman Trust, Reggie's name wasn't there anymore. But I think we saw Johnny Manziel first come out and say that he wasn't going to be like a part of this
And I
anymore
think
until
that
Reggie gets it
started
back.
yeah, I think that
And
started
that
Rumble in it.
that might have gotten the ball rolling, maybe. But yeah, Reggie's got his husband back. Any reaction to that? Does the Heisman
Yeah.
Trust deserve to be credited in any way here? Because I
No.
think this was stupid to begin with, and it's just like, okay, well, you made yourself a little less stupid now.
Like I know Paul Feinbaum has a whole thing on it. I didn't want to listen to it. I'm sure he said something stupid. Um no, like to me, like I've always viewed him that way. Like, okay, if you look at the time that it happened, yeah, like he did something wrong, right? He took money or whatever he did. I don't even remember what he did. But now that you look back on it, like, comparing of like what it's like now, like, yeah, of course. And again, I'm kind of in a weird bag with it because I feel like he did break the rules and there has to be consequence for it. But what is the right consequence for it, right? And look, like you said, he did earn it, like, and again, I think it's all props to Reggie Bush, like always fighting this every year. Like, hey, I would love to be back, have my trophy back. Um, but I also feel like now the Heisman Trust and the NCAA have now opened up a can of worms that everyone will always point back to this moment. Like if they ever get something taken away or something happens, they're always going to point out, well, look what you did with Reggie. You got him this back. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just feel like there's going to be this constant battle now with all
Well,
these
the whole
different things.
reason that it was taken away is because at the time NIL didn't exist
Yeah,
and there
yeah,
was
yeah,
some
exactly.
legal recruiting benefits. But you look at the SMU death penalty case where like in the was it the 70s,
70s.
80s
Yeah, I believe
area,
70s,
they
80s.
were just doing all the legal recruiting, getting all the superstar players, and then they
And,
eventually like
and let's be honest,
received like a death sentence from the NCAA.
most teams in the SEC like just never got caught. It's like what they said, like when NIL came out, like people like, oh, the SEC, like they'll be, it'll be hard for them. Like they've been doing this a lot longer than every other team, and I think, yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. But speaking of that, I know we were going to talk about some other situations that could be changed now. I think you look specifically at Ohio State. I think the one I'm talking about, the tattoo gate, right? Like, they Ohio State and the NCAA basically wiped Trell Pryor and a lot of these other guys out of the record books, because of their so-called cheating. But really, what they were doing is they're just taking what they had won and they were pawning it or whatever they were doing, to get money for tattoos. And it's just like I again, it's the same thing as Reggie Bush. Like, yeah, at that time they broke the rule, but now it's like, well, first off, in general, like
Even
if you're
to a
gonna,
lesser degree, because that stuff that
yeah,
Reggie got was like from the university, and then
yeah,
this was just like stuff that the
they
players
had,
had
yeah.
and sold.
Yeah. So
Nothing
for
that
me,
like the
so
university
I don't know
did
about it.
to
I
get
don't
him
know if
there.
you agree with me, but I feel like they should be allowed to have all those wins back, the Sugar Bowl win, and I think you should be allowed to put them back in this to the history books. And I think, like, I just think it's fair. Like, I feel like if you're going to do this, then a lot of these things you need to correct.
Well, that's what I was getting at with like SMU is like SMU was a school that like did illegally recruit and give kids benefits they shouldn't have, just as Reggie Bush got. But Ohio State's even like a lesser degree, where it's like the university didn't do that. That was like all the players doing.
Yeah.
And then what else can you look at exactly? Like any kind of illegal recruiting violation or anything like that. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I think in general, I do believe at one point they will. Um, I think they will allow the records to come back and the wins to go back. I really do, which it really sucks because it really puts a damper on Jim Tressel.
Yeah,
I
I actually
that
saw some photos of him at
Yeah,
spring camp, like at the Woody with Ryan
yeah.
Day. I didn't think that like they were even like on terms like that where he'd be allowed to come
Oh yeah, he
and hang
loves
out.
Ohio State. He loves
I'm
Ohio
sure I know he
State.
does, but like
Yeah.
Ohio State like acts like he doesn't exist, it seems like. But
I mean, it's kind of hard because it's in a weird spot, and like, if you guys actually know the story, Jim Tressel was like the first to apologize. He owned up to it. He said, "Hey, it was on me. I should have kept an eye," even though they didn't do really anything wrong.
mhm.
Um, but it is tough, like, because I feel like a lot of Ohio State fans will agree with me that like, w- it's weird. It's hard because like when obviously Jim Tressel leaving allowed us to have Urban Meyer, who brought us the championship, who then allowed us to have Ryan Day. But then again, you look at it like if you don't lose Jim Tressel, like you still had the chance because he proved that he could get there. He won a national title. He went to another one.
Played in two of
Actually
them
two of them. Yeah, two of them after that.
after
So,
that. Yeah.
I guess, does that make sense, Josh? Like I feel like it hurts more because it's like it's not even the wins and stuff. It's like we lost Jim Tressel over this, and that's what I think hurts me the most. I guess.
Yeah. Uh, on the note of Heisman's too, Brandon Walker from Barstool's college football show was saying, can we just like go back and right all the other Heisman wrongs? Like and
Yeah.
mentioned a couple that shouldn't have been. And he's like, basically any Oklahoma quarterback that ever won one probably shouldn't have got one. Can we give Darren McFadden the award instead of Troy Smith?
Okay.
And
No, that one can stay. That one can stay.
I think I actually agree with him that McFadden should have been that guy.
Yeah, well, that's fine,
And
whatever.
then he's like, oh wait, give it to Tebow instead of Sam Bradford.
Yeah, but they want to keep that record with Archie Griffin. You know that. You know it will never be broken. So they want
They
that one
really would like
guy,
it to be just one guy, right? That
Yeah.
has done it. I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like the only other thing that reminded me of, and you were talking about baseball, the one thing that reminds me of that we should allow to switch is that Galarraga from the Detroit Tigers. I think it was back in 2010, was it? Something like that. That
That was when we were in high school, I think.
yeah. So if you guys don't know, it was like what? It was 2 outs, the bottom of the ninth
It
or
was a
top of the
perfect
ninth.
game going, and yeah, it came
Yeah.
down to the final out, ground ball in the infield.
And they tossed it to him. He clearly, even from not a replay, just watching in general, he clearly was on the base. He caught the ball, and the ump calls the guy safe.
This was
And
also before instant replay
yes,
was
before instant
instituted
replay.
in baseball.
So then obviously that blows the no-hitter. What's even crazier is the next game when that umpire was going to be a home plate umpire, they sent out Galarraga to do the lineup card, which I think is such a brilliant way to not be mean, but just be like, hey, how are you doing? That's just me though.
Yeah. Man, I saw another baseball stat today. The Cleveland Indians in 1999 are the last team to score over 1,000 runs, I think it was, or drive in over 1,000 runs.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that in like the offensive era, we haven't seen anybody do that lately. But I was running through like Manny Ramirez, 165 RBIs on that team. Richie Sexson, I think 116. Jim Thome, 108. Roberto Alomar, 120. I'm like, dang, man. Four guys with over 100, and I just want one guy that can get 90 now. Like that's how much
Yeah,
the tides have turned over here.
but I even did like even going back to the awards, there's so many other things obviously that we could talk about with that. But again, we
Yeah,
want to give our props to Reggie Bush. You deserve it. Yeah, I think everyone can agree on that you deserve to have it, and I'm glad were able to get it back.
yeah. I think we can transition now into the Cavs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we are up 2-0 on the Orlando Magic as it stands right now. I believe we've gotten a 10-point win and like a 13-point win or something like that.
Yes.
So it hasn't even really been
Jarrett
close, at
Allen
least
has
in the
been a
scoreboard.
man among boys inside.
Yeah, what's been going really well here? Have you gotten to watching these games, Ben?
Yes.
I've
Yeah,
been at
I've
work
watched
for I think just
I've
about
watched like
both of them.
the extended highlights because a lot of the games are at night for me, like when I'm in bed. So I've been able to watch the extended highlights, like catching up on the film and stuff. Dude, honestly, what's working is they're healthy. I mean, outside of Dean Wade, who got hurt, he's gonna miss the next couple of games. Um, but they're healthy, man. Like they finally have their core pretty much together, and
Levert's out there, Okoro's out there, Struce is out there, Mitchell, Garland,
yeah,
Allen,
that's what I'm
Mobley.
saying. Like all year, they've just been so banged up that it's been bouncing back and forth of guys coming in and out of the lineup. Look, Jared Allen has been like I said, a man among boys. He had 20 rebounds, third Cavalier ever. Daugherty, Kevin Love, and now Jared Allen. Um, Mitchell's proven why the Cavs better sign him to a max extension this offseason. Like if you truly want to spend money, like you say you're willing to, Gilbert, then you need to sign him to a max extension, and then draft Bronny James with the second round pick, and then or first round pick, and then sign LeBron James to a minimum contract. There you go. You've
So
solved those fairy
you
tales.
are all about a LeBron coming back to Cleveland.
I just want him to finish his career. I don't care if it's for 5 games or if it's for a full season. He needs to finish the last game he ever plays in an NBA uniform. Needs to be with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
That's what I feel like.
I think the implications of LeBron coming are you're obviously in win now mode even at age 40, and then you also subject yourself to LeBron GMing the team and
Yeah.
trading away guys like maybe Garland, Allen, and
Stress.
we'll just throw Struss in there for one superstar that's also a part of Clutch Sports that will probably have knees made of glass and be injury prone, and then we'll be, left with nothing once LeBron retires. And then we trade away those guys, and we got, one
It's a
injured
cycle
sidekick, I
again.
guess, and a bunch of like sixth men, I guess, on the team. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, we just traded away a really solid roster for a push towards the title one time, and then that failed. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm really a fan of that, but the whole idea of LeBron on a veteran minimum deal is definitely appealing, though. I just
Yeah.
don't think he'll ever go for that.
No, I mean,
One other thing I've been impressed with by the Cavs so far is defense, holding the
defense
Magic
been
to under
great,
90
man.
both games so
And the
far. You
Magic
don't see
aren't
that
the
too often.
Magic's not a slouch. Like the Magic are good this year. Like
Hmm
they're really solid this year. And
They had the 3 seed at one point, and then
yeah,
I guess the way the season ended, they were a little cold, but still, like holding teams under 90 points in today's NBA is like unheard of. I feel like.
and Bickerstaff knows that this is like his like do or die season. If he doesn't get very far in the playoffs, I think he's gone. I really do. I think they'll fire him.
Hmm.
I also don't. I also think if they struggle making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, or if they don't make it at all there, then I think Mitchell's gone. Like I think Mitchell needs to see that they're that close, or they win it,
hmm
right? Like I think he needs to see that in order to commit long term, and that's the I think most important part of that.
Yeah, got to keep Mitchell in Cleveland. I mean, that's our superstar. If we don't have him, then I guess Garland's leading us, or maybe Evan Mobley's leading us. And I mean, that's not as appealing. I like those guys much better as like second and
Yeah.
third options. But we got game 3 tonight in
Yes.
Orlando, game 4 in Orlando on Saturday. We'll see if they can pull the sweep off. Maybe we'll be talking about that next episode.
Yeah.
But outside of that, anything else in the NBA playoffs interesting
The
so far? I
the
know that
Lakers
the Lakers
choke.
have been melting down,
They like
and I kind
got
of love
blown
it a
out.
lot.
They got blown out. Then we're blowing the Nuggets out, and then Jokic decided to say, "Okay, let me be MVP." Um, Also, I just want to point out, like, I'm tired of people hating on Jokic. Like, they're like, "Oh, he'd be a terrible 3-time MVP. He doesn't deserve it." I'm like, the dude's the best player in basketball. You cannot tell me there's someone better than him right now. The dude could average a triple double if he wanted to.
In fact, he was darn close. 26 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists.
You know, it's just to me, it's like he's the best player in
Shooting
basketball right now.
58% from the field, which is 10th in the league.
So yeah, so for me, that's been shocking. I guess the Lakers struggling what they are, and again, Josh, you probably answer this probably as much as I can. Like you'd have to say LeBron's gone after this year if they either retiring or move to another team if they can't win with all that money and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with LeBron too. You got a 20-point lead in the third quarter, and you decide at the end of the game that you're going to blame the whole
Oh, I
entire
know.
loss
Oh, I know.
on the replay system when
I love the Crane boys. They're like bickering with David Cohn. Or no, David Cohn's like bickering with, I think was it Blaine?
probably Blaine, because Blaine loves
Yeah,
LeBron.
and they were like bickering, and then David Cohn said like LeBron James couldn't even carry Michael Jordan's girdle basically. I was just dying. I was like, this is phenomenal.
As far as like the debate goes, I mean, this is like Wizards Michael Jordan. LeBron's like in his 20th season, no business even being here at age 40, still one of the best players in the league. And I don't think this is should be in any way like compared to what Jordan was doing in his prime. Like Michael Jordan would never. It's like, yeah, well, Jordan never did this at the stage of career that
Yeah.
LeBron's at. So it's like you can look at it that way too, but still, it's just like, what are we doing with the replay? Like just take accountability for screwing up, and 20-point leads should never be blown. I don't even care that we're in the 3-point era where you can, knock a couple and get yourself back in. 20 points, that's like almost a quarter of
Telling you.
production.
Telling you, he's been living in LA too long, not taking
Yeah.
accountability for his actions.
Yeah. Anthony Davis seems pretty upset too about you see that one post game interview he
Yeah.
had.
Some would say that they, would rather just make the rules and not actually follow them. I'm just saying.
The other thing about this Lakers game, I think this is the last one. They had 6 points off the bench.
They've
This
been
isn't
rough.
a deep roster. It's not a
No.
deep roster. You got
Look,
LeBron, AD, I guess D'Angelo Russell,
and we've also
and then
seen
Austin
that.
Reeves.
Yeah, I guess. And
You.
I guess we saw like also I was thinking about the awards, right? And the fact that, well, one, Levert wasn't put up for six man of the year is criminal. That's just a criminal act. Karis Levert should have been up for the six man of the year. But the fact that we could have that, by the way, Victor Wembanyama could win defensive player of the year and rookie of the year, the dude's a freak. The dude is a freak.
Led the league in blocks.
Dude's
I'm
so good, man.
definitely has a case. Yeah, it wouldn't be like a shock to me, other than I guess the context of, oh, and he's also a rookie and one rookie of the year. Interesting. Just being that good on both sides of the floor.
Yes, sir.
Well, anything else
I
to
don't
touch on? I
I don't
think we had
know.
a solid episode.
Yeah, I think the only thing we were saying was just some transfers in college football. Dallin Hayden is going to Dion. Um, which as an Ohio State fan, I'm just glad he's not going to the Big Ten school or going to Michigan. I was worried he's going to travel and follow what's his face to Michigan, which would have really bugged me. But I mean, I don't know about you, Josh, but I keep seeing Dion not being able to keep the guys that he brought in, his gem of a class that he brought in last year. Huh.
Oh, the Louis language is getting lost in the airport or something, man.
Yeah.
Lost in baggage
Like,
claim. I don't
do
know,
you feel
because
like
some of it's going away.
do you think he's preaching a lot more than what maybe is happening behind closed doors?
It's tough because who's like the guys that are leaving? Who are the guys that are saying this stuff?
Yeah.
It's not Travis Hunter. It's not Shador Sanders. It's like his guys, like the superstars of the
Yeah.
team. And that's something I always look at whenever any like former players come out and bash a coach. It's like, okay, well, this was the third string left guard and he was a two-star recruit and wasn't good enough, obviously. So
Yeah.
some of these guys that are leaving are like some of their bigger contributors, like
Yeah.
Dylan Edwards last year, starting running back as a freshman, not there anymore. So you got
Max.
to wonder, like, are they just like, do they not buy into the vision? And is Dion trying to build everything through the portal and make it a quick fix instead of trying to get like consistent guys in? I know that like they still got like the number one tackle, I think, in the class, and I
Yeah.
think he's still committed as of today. But even still, like just the amount of guys when Carmani McLean entered the portal, that was
And then called out
a big
Dion.
get, the number one corner. Yeah, that was the number one corner that you'd be scratching your head about why he left. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, what kind of Colorado team they got. I know again they've been using the portal mostly for talent acquisition, which is like, okay, you gotta eventually start getting some of these like guys homegrown and caring about your team,
Yeah, for
build some
sure.
chemistry.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what we do, but I think, at the end of the day, you know, teams that get it right with their head coach and culture survive most of the time. So I
And
think
I
that's
think they
true.
can do that at Colorado. I still think they could be like an
Oh,
eight
for
and
sure.
four
Yeah, yeah,
team
yeah.
eventually. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they're ever like a national contender, but they're better than what Colorado's been.
Yeah.
It's a net positive for the
Yeah, that's for
program.
sure. For sure. Well, Josh, it's been a good show. Obviously, the NFL draft is happening tonight. So again,
Yes.
as we're recording this, so this will obviously
While we're
come out.
recording it right now, do you have any bold prediction? I know that T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson have requested trades today. Could the
Which I
Bengals
would
maybe
love.
make a splash
Wish I would love to have
higher into the
I would
first
love to
round
have
or
my
add another
brother
first
on.
round pick?
I would love to have my brother on. Just ask him. So what happened to that? I don't know. That talk that the Bengals were arrived. Oh wait, I forgot. Your owner doesn't like to spend money. That's what I do like about Haslam's. They don't care. They will spend whatever it takes. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we posted our final mock draft, and I'm basically going to stick to most of that. But now hearing those trade requests, I am keeping an eye on what the Bengals might do tonight a little bit more. They got the 18th
I'm
pick.
going to say this. I'm making a bold statement here.
Okay.
The Browns trade into the first round. No, I know that sounds crazy, but what they've done over the last 2 years, nothing's crazy anymore for me. Like the last 3 years, nothing's crazy for me. I'm going to say they trade into the late 20s because they have a second round pick. I think they trade in the late 20s. I don't know what they trade, but I feel like they try to snag either a receiver, like get one of the top, receivers, or they go and try to snag um a defensive tackle. I think
Hmm.
maybe. Now I will say I've heard the Mike Hall from Ohio State to the Browns in the second round, which I don't mind that. Um, but I do think the Browns are gonna make a splash, and I think another team that I'm saying this again as we're recording this, I'm saying another team that might make a splash is the St. Louis Rams. I just have a feeling
The
they haven't had a
St.
pick.
Louis Rams, huh?
St. Louis, sorry, I'm well, the LA Rams. I'm sorry. Um, I feel like they might because they haven't had a first round pick in a while. Maybe they use that as a way either to trade back, right, and maybe get another couple picks, or maybe they try to trade up. Maybe they go out and try to get somebody. I don't know. I don't know. I just these are some thoughts that have come through my head today. So I'm going to say one of
All right.
those kind of things.
Do you think that you will have more than 3.5 or under 3.5 picks projected correctly.
Wow,
That's where I'm setting the over
you're giving me
underline.
you're giving
Based
me
on how our
no
mock
hope.
based on how our mock went last year
Yeah,
to
that's true.
actual reality, like the correct player at the correct pick to the correct team.
Oh, I think over. I think my first like 4 or 5 picks are solid. I think in my first 10, top 10, I think are at least the top 5. I think I'm pretty good. So I'm gonna say over on that. I'm gonna go over 3.5.
It seems like the top 10 players are pretty consistent across most mock drafts. It's just if JJ McCarthy does go in the first round or
Yeah.
someone does trade up to get a quarterback, that's going to shake a lot of things up,
I'm gonna go
as
over
it
though. I'm
usually
gonna say
does.
like probably 4 or 5 for me. I'm gonna go over.
We do have a pretty similar top 10. I think we only
We do.
differ on 2 picks
Yeah,
in the top 10.
I think we differ in places. I don't think we differ in like guys. I just think we differ in places, like where guys go.
Well, we do have, I think we do have Caleb, Jaden, Drake, Marv, Malik Neighbors as
Yep.
our first 5, right?
Yeah, they're
and then
the
at
same.
6, I think I go Joe Alt to the Giants, but
I
you
go
go
receiver,
Rome
Adunze.
Dunze.
Yeah.
And then you go Alt, I think, to the Titans, and
Yes.
I go Foshnu.
Yeah.
And then 8, we got Dallas Turner
Yep.
there to Atlanta. 9,
Brock
we
Bowers
got
for me.
okay. I got Bowers going 10 to the Jets. Who's got the 9th pick?
Bears.
Bears, and I go with Dunze there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 10, I go Murphy to the Jets.
Got
Defense
it.
tackle.
All right.
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
so there's a chance then that like if you are getting 4 of those right, I'm probably getting 4 right as well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go over. I just think this year is the most. I think it's the easier year to get more top 10 picks right. Now, after the top 10, if you ask me then, I'd be like 0.
After the top 10, I'm
0.
just like, geez, I don't know, dude.
I was
So I
just
was asking
throwing
Joe
names
all
out there.
those questions, like what
So
direction are some of these
I was
teams going
throwing
to go?
0. I was just throwing names out there at that point. But yeah, okay. This is my suggestion. Another thing for you to say before this comes out, obviously. Over under. I should say over under. Yeah, I guess over under. How many quarterbacks go in the first round? I'm going to say over under. Let's say 3. I know 4. Let's go 4.
Put it 3.5.
No, we're going
That way you
4.
can go
No,
solid 4 or solid 3.
4.
4 even?
4
You're
even.
letting a push happen here? Well, I'm going under. I'm mocked 3 to go off the board. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3. And I really don't believe that JJ McCarthy is going to go in the first round. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that's Will Levis equivalent.
I'm going to say, ooh. I'm going to
The
say
only thing
over.
that if there is a 4th, I could see someone like trading up to take Michael Penix maybe late. I don't believe anybody actually views Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy as first round picks.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say 5.
5 of them, okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to go top 3.
Did you mock
top
5
3.
quarterbacks?
I mocked originally. I had mocked 5. I mocked 4 now. I'm down to 4, but I did mock 5 for a while. I think Penix goes in the first round as well, and then I think you'll see. I think Bo Nix like a 32 or 31. Maybe a team trades in and picks him up then. I again have a really hard time to believe that JJ McCarthy is first round quality. It's very hard for me to realize that. And I know there's going to be some idiot GM who thinks that he's the next Tom Brady and he's going to ruin their team's future. And it's probably going to be the Patriots. I can just see it now. And it would be funny to see him just get demolished in the NFL. I would love it more than anything to then be proven right. Or the funniest thing would be is if the Chargers decide to trade Herbert and then just draft JJ McCarthy. Now,
that's the other thing that I thought about, like seriously considering in my mock draft is a trade of Herbert in some capacity.
Do you agree that is not out of the like with Harbaugh? That's not out of the question. Like I really think that could happen.
Joe brought up some good points about we both have Malik Neighbors at 5 because we see an obvious need there. They've let Mike Williams go. They've let Keenan Allen go, but it's like, are they like building a Jim Harbaugh kind of offense here? And then if they are, that means Herbert's got to be gone then.
Dude, can you imagine they make a trade Herbert to like, I don't know, somewhere, and then they get JJ McCarthy? Can you just imagine like the amount of trolls that is going to happen with the Chargers fans, by the way? By the way, this is with your head coach who lives in a camper. Like this is who's running your organization right now.
Yeah, I will say on one final note, I've been critical of JJ as an NFL prospect, but I do love him as a player.
Yeah, he's good.
And I am rooting for him. I just don't think it's going to happen.
That is true. But you know what is going to happen? a show next week. That is what's going to happen.
That's when we'll talk about all this and see if we were right about all this.
Yeah, that is true. So anyways, I hope you guys had an amazing time listening. If you've been listening in the car, or maybe you're listening just, hanging out at work, maybe you're working like Josh, 7 straight days. I don't know. But we do thank you for listening. Again, we do want to once again thank Joe last week for coming on. It's always fun to have guests and to be able to talk more than just Josh and I talking banter back and forth. And once again, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you have, make sure you leave that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you share the link with friends and family. Give us a nice rating. And enjoy your weekend. It's supposed to be warm here in Hungary. I don't know if it's going to be warm in Ohio, but it might be. So
close to 70 degrees.
Yeah. So enjoy the nice weather. Go out and do something fun. Maybe play pickleball or cornhole. That's the first time I've ever said cornhole on the show, and that might be the last. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great time. And as always, we'll see you next time.